be sour. Clap for your world famous two-time champs and feel the power. It's a new day. Yes, it is.
Lovely day to be a Buckeye. It's a great day to be a Buckeye. Oh my goodness. I could not be happier than I am right now. Let me talk to you, my Michigan brethren. It's okay. It's okay, my friends. My friends from Michigan, I want you to let you know that it's all right. It's okay to be Tito Jackson. It's okay to be Jermaine. Even Randy. Everybody can't be Michael Jackson. I understand. It's okay to be Michelle of Destiny's Child. I like her gospel stuff. Everybody can't be Beyonce. I'm a big fan of Belle Biv DeVoe. It's okay to be Ricky, Ronnie, and Mike. Everybody can't be Bobby Brown. Everybody can't have my prerogative. You guys not even Ralph or Johnny, to be honest with you. I need a man with sensitivity. You're not even Ralph. I understand. It's okay. You guys are like Harold Melvin without the blue notes. I get it. It's understandable. Everybody can't be the star. Everybody can't be the standard bearer. Unfortunately, somebody has to be, the fifth man. The one guy in the group that he's there, but he never, you're not Casey and JoJo. I mean, maybe you the guy in Boys to Men with the deep voice, but they don't even let him hang around anymore. I'm sorry. If this was the Wu-Tang Clan, you guys would be you God. Not even Inspector Deck. You're not even the heavily slept on Inspector Deck. You God. I like you God. He's fine. He has some good verses. It's not Raekwon. He's not Ghostface. He's not Meth. It's not Old Dirty Bastard. But it's okay. It's all right. And I get it. At one point in life, you guys were Michael Jackson. It just happened to be that point in life was when slavery still existed. When you had to go to the bank, you had to get there on horse and carriage. I mean, that's okay. I mean, yeah, you guys were Michael at one point in the 1800s, the early 1900s, when they had the leather helmets. You guys was killing it, moonwalking over everybody back in 1929. When women still wasn't allowed to vote. You guys were pop bad back then. It's just now, right now, since people actually had the internet, yeah, you guys have been mid. You're basically Vanderbilt, if we're just being perfectly honest. No shade to Diego Pavaya and his brother and his mama. You guys Vanderbilt. In the last, 25 years, you had a brief 3-year moment of success that will be forever scandalized because you cheated. You can look at every year that you didn't cheat and every year that you did cheat, and the numbers don't lie. And I, as a Buckeye, I was the only one that said, I understood why you cheated. I would have probably cheated too if I was you. If I had lost 18 out of 20, if my coach had lost 5 in a row, if I was the laughing stock of the rivalry, I would have found me a kind of stallions too. Clearly it worked. But Connor's gone. And Jim Harbaugh left. And you're stuck with no color Sharon Moore. And I was a fan of Sharon Moore. Because black people don't get a lot of opportunities to coach at institutions like Michigan. But he said he didn't see no color. And now they call him a DEI hire. You ain't never seen a freshman like me. It's okay. It's all right. It's okay. It's understandable. I would actually like to thank you. Actually, I would like to thank you, Michigan. I'm going to give you a sincere thanks. And you want to know why I want to give you a sincere thanks? The 1 year that you didn't cheat, you came into our house, you didn't really play particularly well. Your quarterback was awful, but you won the game. Now, granted, we had to play probably one of the worst games in Ohio State history for you to win, but you won the game. You won the game. You tried to plant the flag. You got us into a big old fight, and everybody was ready to kill Ryan Day. His kids couldn't go to school. He had armed guards. The kicker couldn't go to class because he had missed field goals. Everybody was upset. They had team meetings. All type of crazy stuff went on after that win. And I like to thank you. I like to thank you for that. Because sometimes you need an ass kicking. Sometimes you need a push in the back. Sometimes some bad stuff has to happen to open your eyes, to refocus you. And that's what Ryan Day needed. Ryan Day was always a good coach. He was always a good coach. But sometimes you need a little something. You need a little something to put a jetpack on. And man, from that day on, from that team meeting on, from when they tried to plant that flag, something has changed in my Ohio State brethren. These guys are killers. They have turned into stone. They turned into stone cold killers. Like, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. I want you to look at this. This is the coldest picture maybe I've ever seen in Ohio State history. Michigan obviously knew they were going to lose. These fools had a plan to go out and make sure that nobody planted the flag on their M. These idiots went out there and wanted to start a fight. Yeah, we lost the game, but we're going to start a fight. We're going to fight. And look at the Ohio State guys. Looking at them laughing like a bunch of dudes in the club with a section with no girls. That's what they look like. You seen them dudes at the club? They got 18 bottles, no girls in the section. Ohio State is pointing at them. They got all the girls in the section. They got all the IG models. Everybody want to hang out with the winners. Nobody want to hang out with the losers. We hanging out with winners. Furthermore, how? Michigan, how did you let Ohio State take over your stadium? This is supposed to be the greatest rivalry in sports. I turned on the TV. It's a true story because it was 9 o'clock. And I'm in the West Coast, right? Big noon kickoff. I get up. I'm nervous. I ain't going to lie. I'm nervous. When you lose 4 in a row, you get nervous. You never know what they up to. So I'm nervous, right? So I get up at 8 o'clock. I say, I want to do me a little routine, just like, if it was a regular day, right? I get up at 8 o'clock a.m., take a shower, put on my Ohio State, gear. I clean up my loft because, I have 2 daughters who like to destroy everything. I clean up my loft, make sure my daughters are okay. I make sure my wife is good, make sure she's good. I give me some coffee, give me my bottled water like I do every day, right? I sit down, I get all my remotes, ready. I point the remote at the TV at about 8:50 because, I can't sit there. I can't watch I can't watch Kurt Herbstreit or Dave Paul. I can't watch all these guys. So about 8:50, I turn on the TV, 4K. I don't clean the TV off to make sure I got the best view. I turn on the TV, right? I turn it on. And I look, and I didn't have my glasses on. And I look, and I said, well, I know Michigan is maize and blue. I know Michigan is maize and blue. Where all this red coming from? So I got my glasses. I said, hold on. I put my glasses on. And I'm starting to look. I said, there's a lot of red in that stadium. And I'm like, well, maybe it's because, they got there early. The visiting team gets there early. Then the game started. And Michigan was kicking a field goal. And in the end zone, everything was red. How do you let that happen, Michigan? How? That's something that Tito Jackson would do. That's something that would happen to Jermaine Jackson. You think Michael Jackson at a concert, Prince and all of his fans would come in and take it over? You should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed of yourself. Listen, I want you guys to be good. Like, without the cheating. Don't turn off the power. You got to stop all that. Stop trying to be tough. Try to get in Bo Jackson face. You ain't going to do nothing. You're soft. You're the Biff Tanner of college. I want you guys to be good on the up and up. Okay? It's not a great rivalry if one team is just so far superior than the other one. I'm not saying that you got to go cheat again, but maybe, just maybe, bring your offense out of the 1980s. You paying Bryce Underwood more than some NFL quarterbacks are being paid. He's literally getting paid more than Shedeur Sanders. And he can't throw the football because the offense looks like something from 1980. And I watched Big Ten football back in the day, in the 90s and the early 2000s, before the spread and everything came out. I know what it looks like. That was terrible. That's ridiculous. Your main receiver gets no targets. You get punked by freshman running backs. Tight ends are body slamming your D ends. You got to have some respect for yourself. You have some respect for the rivalry. I want you to be better. That's what I'm saying. I want you to at least to get up to Janet Jackson levels, okay? I understand. We're Mike Hee. We're moonwalking all over you. I get it. I understand. But can we get to Janet levels, okay? Can you get to Ralph Transvan levels? Can you get to Ghostface Killer levels? At least Inspector Deck levels. Can you get to that point right now so we can make this interesting? You guys have been mid pretty much for the entire last 25 years, but besides the 3 years that you cheated. Great for you. You got a championship out of it. You whooped our ass for 4 years and 3 years while you cheated. That's great. I don't know if you got to find another kind of stallions, but at least find you a good QB coach. If you're paying a guy $12 million, he should know how to play quarterback. Athletically speaking, if you look at Bryce Underwood and you look at Julian Sand, Super Saiyan, the babyface assassin, athletically speaking, there's no comparison, right? But look at Julian's footwork. Look at the way Julian maneuvers around the pocket. Look at the ball placement on Julian. That is taught. That is coached. That is developed. Look at the routes that Jeremiah Smith runs, the routes that Cornell Tate runs, the play calls that get Brandon Ennis open. That's taught. That's coaching. So I don't want to hear about Ohio State. No, Ohio State has the same amount of talent as Texas, as Alabama, as all of these other teams that everybody's talking about. They have the same. They're just coached better. And so when you take elite talent and you coach it, this is what happens. This is what happens. I'm disappointed in you, Michigan. I really am. I'm disappointed in you, Michigan. I truly am. And the Michigan, I tried to listen. ML Kid 9. I tried to tell him because if you're an Ohio State fan, if you're a Michigan fan, you watch the competition all the time. It's an obsession. I watched Michigan during their 3 cheating years. And don't get me wrong, they had some dogs on there. They had some players. Cheating just enhances what you already have. They had some hell of a running backs, hell of a line, hell of a D line, hell of a backfield. What they didn't have was an elite quarterback. What they had was a good quarterback that could make an occasional pass here and there and can make an occasional run here and there. They did not have NFL style concepts for JJ McCarthy. They basically hit him, but he has like physical tools and he's a nice kid. So you take a white kid with physical tools and who's nice, of course he's going to be drafted in the top 10. Of course. He's got, because I always say sometimes GMs, when they look at a guy like JJ McCarthy or head coaches, he's the guy that they wanted to be in high school. Like these guys wanted to be Jackson Dart. So, they wanted to be Drake May. And those guys, I'm not saying those guys are bad. I'm just saying they fall in love with who they could have been. The GM was some sort of pencil neck guy, and he wanted to be JJ McCarthy. And then they get to the NFL and they can't play. You have to build them. You have to take them like Josh Allen, who was not good really in college. And he wasn't really good in the NFL to start. But he had moxie and he worked. He worked really hard. And they worked with him until he got to a point to where he was better. So you got to take some time. It doesn't matter if you Cam Ward, JJ McCarthy, Bo Nix, whatever, Caleb Williams. You got to work. You got to take the time. You got to have coaches that know what they're doing. And either mentally you get it or mentally you don't. Mentally you get it, mentally you don't. And you can watch them. You can literally watch and say, I can tell this guy's like I watched Lenore Sellers, right? And I'm like, who's coaching this guy? This guy looks like a combination of Cam Newton and Josh Allen. And I'm like, but you just look at the footwork and you look at the act. It's like, who's coaching this guy? Like, what are they coaching him, doing practice? Or they just tell him to run and throw far? Once again, Michigan, I thank you for for coming to the table. We appreciate you for giving us a little that fire that we need. There was times that people accuse us of being soft. Hey, it's hard. Hey, when you're getting your ass kicked, you're not winning championships. That's what happens. Ohio State expects to win championships every year. They expect to be in that mix. We're Bama. We're Georgia. We're supposed to be. Clemson before they fell off the map. We're supposed to be in that mix every year. So thank you, Michigan. Thank you. Thank you for what happened last year. In retrospect, it was the best thing that could have ever happened to Ryan Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes. Now we have a championship. We done whooped your ass at your house. Ryan Day on the field telling your coach what he needs to do. You guys looking like a bunch of idiots standing out there by yourself looking for a fight that was never going to happen. And now we're on the bigger and better things. Will we win a championship? I don't know. It's hard to win a championship. It's hard to win 3 games against what are going to be elite teams. Maybe we win. Maybe we won't. But I will tell you this. I feel very confident about my school going forward. I don't think we have to worry about being Randy Jackson anytime soon. I don't think we have to worry about being Tito. I don't think we have to worry. What's the other one? Reba or whatever. I don't think we have to worry about that anytime soon. Well, you guys at Michigan, listen, it doesn't take long. Look what happened with Dabo Luther King. It does not take long to fall off the map. I don't want that to happen to you. Nobody wants a rivalry where we just kick your ass every year. And we gotta, we need you to have a little bit more gumption, to you. That felt good. Yeah, you have 365 days of having to deal with Michigan fans. That's rough. And look, they had the right to say it, at least for last year. The other 3 years they cheated. They know they cheated, but I can't say anything about last year. They just beat us. And that was a terrible Michigan team that beat us, and they beat us. So there was no excuse. So you just had to take it. Take it like a man. You had to take it like a man. But now the big boys are back on top. And you guys can go play in the Dave Portnoy Mayonnaise Bowl now. We're going to play with the big boys now. Go Bucks. That's right. Oh, child. Lane Kiffin. I don't get to old Lane holding a housewife. You see, SVP stole my analogy. You see that? Maybe it was. I'm not saying he stole it. When I said I'm the only one that probably had thought that, but it did sound quite familiar to what I told Kay Adams, and I know like 500,000 people saw it. I see the stats. I'm not saying he stole it. I'm just saying, but the analogy that you're married, you decide that you want a divorce, you want to go marry your mistress, the lady you've been cheating with. But you want to stay in the house with the kids for Christmas until the divorce is final. And your wife is like, no, get the hell out. And then you're like, okay, if I got to get the hell out, I'm taking the kids with me. And your wife's like, no, you're not. And then you tell the kids, hey, if you don't go with daddy and his new mistress, there's not going to be any toys for Christmas. That's the Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss, LSU situation in a nutshell. I never blame a coach or a player or anybody for leaving a job. Right now, somebody called me and was like, get off this live. We got $2 million for you, Rob, to host this show. I'll be gone too. That's just how it works. I think with Lane, there's a history there. Some people can't stay in relationships. Some people get antsy after a certain amount of time. And some people don't know how to leave relationships. And they just have to burn their entire house down. Did you know the dog wasn't even his? Juice Kiffin? I did not know that. The dog is not even his. So this man got a lot of weird stuff, going on. But, he got $100 million. I heard it's guaranteed. If they fire him, they got to pay him all of this money. You would think after what happened with Brian Kelly, they would be smarter about this, but I digress. So who's the whole? So what's the reporter? It's funny, the reporter they said has been reported on Ole Miss for a long time. He did the whole hole in the housewife thing that became the thing. First off, here's a couple of things though about that, and I'm going to say this: I understood the reference, but if you use a hole in a housewife reference, you are indeed calling somebody the hoe. Okay, you can't get around that. You can't be like, oh, I was using it. No, there's different analogies you can use. If you do the hole in the housewife, there has to be a hole in that analogy. And in this case, that was Lane Kiffin. So when he steps to you, it says, hey, man, you called me up. That's your chance to say something back. Like, there are certain times as a man, you're going to get checked for what you said out your mouth. And you either have to stand on it or you fall back. I felt old boy fell back. And then he got on TV and he got on all this stuff. See, no, you can't do that. When he's in your face, that's the time. That's the time you got to say, hey, you the hoe. And this analogy. You already said it. He already took it a certain way. Don't back up from it now. I remember I was told, Bernard Hopkins told me this a long time ago. He said, anything that you say online, on TV, on radio, on whatever, you have to be willing to say that in somebody's face. I remember Kenyon Martin got mad one time because I made fun of him because he had Trina's lips tattooed on his neck. And he caught me out at the Roosevelt in LA many, many years ago. I said, hey, man, Carmelo was there too. Hey, man, I heard you said, and I looked him dead in his eye. And I didn't know if he, look, I'm about 6 foot. At that time, probably about 185. This guy's 6'8", 6'9". I felt like if we had to fight, I was definitely going to lose, but at least somebody there was going to be like, well, he didn't run. Yeah, so that's the way I looked at it. But I looked at him dead in his eye and I said, yeah, you look ridiculous. And I just stood there. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what's going to happen right now, but at least I stood my ground. And he looked at me And he looked at Carmelo and said, look at this fucking guy. Like he was in the mafia. Like this guy got balls on him and stuff. And that was kind of the end of that. And not too long after, he covered up the tattoo. That's a real story. That's a true story. He probably doesn't remember it. It happened many long times. I don't know whenever he played with the Nuggets, whenever Carmelo was the Nuggets, we talking about like a long time ago. But that was a fun. You got to stand on it. I remember I was in the Hooters one time, and I can't remember. I was picking up food at Hooters. It was close to where I live back in St. Louis, and I remember an agent of somebody was there. And the agent was like, hey, you Robert? And I said, oh, yeah, I'm Robert. Nice to meet you. And he's like, yeah, you said such about my client and blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah, I did. I mean, I don't know what you want me to say. I mean, I said it. I'm just here to pick up my wings. I mean, what are we going to do now? You've said it. I've acknowledged it. You said you didn't like it. I understand that. We're both sitting here at Hooters getting food. What are we going to do? You can't run from what you say. You're mad. You can't run from it. You can't run. You can't say something happened and then run to social media. I hate that with a passion. There are times I know I've said some things and I saw some people and I didn't confront them, but I wanted to give them an opportunity if they had something to say to know that I am here. I'm not just talking behind your back. I'm not running from the smoke. You see my face. You know I run the site. You know I'm. If you have something to say, go ahead and say it. And I've done that, and because hey, sometimes you say things, you gotta stand. You feel strongly about it. And 9 times out of 10, the athletes, I'll be honest with you, they don't even really care. They hear so much stuff about them. They don't. I mean, maybe these new athletes, maybe they're a little more sensitive, and I'm not as out as much as I used to be back in the day. But when back in my heyday, I would say probably, I don't know, 5-10 years ago, when I was pretty much everywhere, I would run into these guys all the time, and I never really had a problem. And I really think they respect you if you stand on it. If you stand on it, you get much more respect than if you cower away, because they don't respect media anyway. And athletes in general are bullies. So you have to stand on what you say. You had to stand. He called him a hoe. You say call him a hoe. He did exactly what you said he was going to do. The whole hoe and the housewife thing is that you can't take, someone that's for the streets and try to make them a long-time partner. You can't turn them into a housewife. You saw what happened with DeJounte Murray. Trying to take NBA YoungBoy's baby mama and turn her into a housewife. Say, no, I want to go party. I want to twerk. Lane Kiffin is a guy that is known to have messy breakups. Ole Miss had to know this. Now they're thinking we saved him. He was like, what, Florida Atlantic or whatever? Like, we brought you back to the SEC. There's going to be some loyalty there, but hoes don't have loyalty. And he won't have loyalty to LSU if the NFL comes knocking. If Alabama one day comes knocking. Ohio State, for whatever reason, came knocking. A hoe doesn't have any loyalty. This man had a fake dog. Are you expected to be loyal to you? Now, I don't agree with the guys going to the airport and saying all this stuff. Also, listen, I've seen on social media some of the stuff that you guys are saying about Lane Kiffin. That's whack. And I tell you why it's whack. You knew Lane Kiffin was doing allegedly all of this stuff while he was there. But as long as he was getting those wins, you didn't care what he was doing behind closed doors. Now that he's gone, all of a sudden you got a lot to say. You got screenshots, you got Snapchats. That's weak. And people do that all the time, and I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like when you know the dirt that people are doing. But as long as it's beneficial to you, you keep that dirt to yourself. But then when they leave or you break up or you have some sort of people have done that to me. So, you knew we were whatever. But when I was beneficial to you, it wasn't a problem. Now that I'm not beneficial to you anymore, now I got something to expose. See, that's why, in my opinion. Maybe you had a different opinion. I understand people get hurt, the feelings get hurt, and all of a sudden they have the thing. But whatever. I don't think that's cool. I don't, unless there was some Sandusky stuff going on. Unless there's something illegal going on, you knew what he was doing and you was fine with it beforehand. You were fine with it beforehand. Before I get out of here, I got to talk about Texas, man. and just college football in general when it comes to determining a national champion. College football has been so stupid pretty much from the beginning of time in how they determine a national champion. You know, for many years, they had a stupid system where, you know, certain conferences can only go to certain bowls. And, you know, the top teams sometimes rarely played each other. So you never got a true 1-2 matchup. And then they had us humans vote on who we thought was the champion. That was stupid. And that happened for decades. Then we got computers. And they said, well, computers, you know, are better than humans because humans have emotions and all of this stuff. So we're going to put a formula in. And this formula, we're going to call it the BCS. And the formula, you know, when there's not 1 and 2, the formula will decide, you know, who's the champion. Now, in theory, that doesn't sound too bad, right? Because it's impartial, right? But who comes up with the formula? The humans. So the formula can be skewed toward certain conferences, toward certain teams. So, you know, and also in every formula, there's what I like to call a glitch or something that you can exploit. So, if we beat a team by, if we're up 40-0 in the fourth quarter with 5 minutes to go, the computer doesn't realize 40-0 is the same as 50-0 or 60-0 or 70-0. So but the computer says it's 70-0 must be better than 40-0. So it's glitches. So finally, after that, they're like, well, that didn't work. Finally, like, well, we need to have a playoff. Wow, thank you. Coming to this century. We'll have a playoff. We'll have a 4-team playoff. Well, that's a problem. Why? Because there's 5 major conferences. Can't have a 4-team playoff with 5 major conferences. That doesn't even make any sense. They should have started with 8. You get your 5 in, 3. You get 3 at large, and you're good to go. But no, they started with 4. Now, these idiots started with 4 with 5 major conferences. That doesn't make any sense. They're like, okay, that doesn't make any sense because we got really good teams that are really good. Just, you know, they can't, the way it's set up, they can't win if they don't go to the conference championship, even though they may be better than some. So they realize, okay, that's bad. So, but instead of going to 8, they jumped to 12. Okay. The logical thing would have been to go to 8. But they're like, okay, we're going to go to 12. All right, we're going to 12. 12 is fine. Most of the good teams are going to get in. If you have 1 loss or 2 losses, that's fine. That gets me to Texas. You got 3 losses. That's the end of the discussion. That's it. That's the end of the discussion. You have 3 losses in the regular season. That's the end of the discussion. 12-team playoff, you can't have 3 losses. That's it. Your max is 2. Unless everybody has a bunch of 3 losses. Your max is 2. Okay? You lost. And they're doing, and the thing that really grinds my gears is they're like, well, we won't play Ohio State. Then we would have been 10-2, and we would have been in if we'd have played Little Sisters of the Poor. What a bitch made mind state is that? I mean, you know what I'm saying? You're not gonna put us in. We're not gonna play anybody now. How soft is that? We just play Little Sisters of the Poor. As if you didn't play 3 Little Sisters of the Poor after you played Ohio State. You played 4 teams, including Florida, that were terrible after Ohio State. And you lost to one of them. You barely beat 2 other ones. And we're not going to schedule anybody because, you know, that what a that is. If I was a Texas alum, I would feel ashamed. I would feel ashamed. You know what you need to do? My dog, she's got somebody at the door. You know what you got to do? Win your games. Pretty simple. Win your games. If you win your games, you'll be in the playoffs. It's as simple as that. Stop crying. Stop whining. You should be ashamed of yourself. It's Robert Littal, BSO Live. Go Bucks.